I want you to picture a scene with me for a second. It's late autumn, 2025. We're in Roundhay.
Ah, Roundhay. Lovely part of the world just north of Leeds.
Yeah.
Very leafy.
Very leafy, big old Victorian houses, you know the kind.
Yeah, very affluent. I can picture it.
Exactly. And inside one of these kitchens, probably beautifully renovated, there's a small circle of startup founders. They're not networking, they're not pitching. They are huddled around a single laptop.
Okay.
And they're looking at a spreadsheet. And this isn't some complex financial model or a pitch deck. It's more like a cheat sheet, a document that is sort of quietly reshaping how UK businesses operate.
It sounds a bit clandestine.
Yeah.
Like a heist movie, but for accountants.
It basically is a heist. But what they're stealing is inefficiency. Let's get into the central conflict on that screen. It's what I've started calling the £42,000 question.
Right.
If you're a founder or, a manager in London, Manchester, wherever, and you need a good executive assistant, someone who could actually think, not just a task doer, what's that going to cost you?
Base salary. In this market, you are looking at £42,000. Minimum. And that's if you can even find someone decent. The market is tight.
Right. So 42 grand, that's our baseline. Now, on this spreadsheet in Roundhay, there are other columns. There's Manila, which comes in at £8,400.
Okay, familiar territory.
Then Nairobi, £7,200. We've seen these kinds of numbers before. This isn't new. But then there's the third column, the one that made everyone lean in a little closer, Cape Town.
And this is where the math starts to look, a bit broken, doesn't it?
It really does. It's listed at £9,600. And, my first reaction when I saw that data was just pure skepticism.
Of course.
I thought, okay, $9,500, that's got to be exploitative, or the quality is going to be absolutely rock bottom. You get what you pay for, right? That's the way.
Usually, yes. That's the conventional wisdom. But the footnotes on that spreadsheet, the things the founders were whispering about, they were trying to quantify something that a price tag normally misses.
What was that?
They were talking about a quality differential. The argument being that for £9,600 in Cape Town, you weren't actually getting a £9,600 employee. You were getting the equivalent of a £50,000 UK employee.
Which, that just shouldn't be possible. And that's the mystery we are really unpacking today. Why is Cape Town different? Why isn't this just the same old outsourcing story we've been hearing for the last 20 years?
The old move the call center to India, save a bit of money, but the service tank story.
Exactly. This is something else. The founders in Roundhay, they weren't just cutting costs. They were actually gaining speed, gaining quality. So today we're doing a deep dive into what they were looking at. The Roundhay lean growth formula.
And we're going to explore how UK startups are trying to survive what economists call the productivity paradox.
That nasty combination of what? High wage inflation on one side.
Your costs are going up.
And totally stagnant output on the other. You're paying more to get the same amount of work done.
It's a killer.
Yeah.
So we're looking at how they're using South African talent to solve this.
And we've got some great sources today. We're pulling from the analysis of that original Roundhay spreadsheet, some big global labor reports, and also some really granular internal data from an agency called https.vaconnect.co.uk, VAConnect. They seem to be the infrastructure behind this whole shift.
And just to set the stakes for you listening, this isn't just about hiring an admin. This is a structural realignment of how small, lean companies can compete.
Yeah, if you're a founder burning through your seed round, or maybe a manager who just can't figure out why your competitor is moving twice as fast for half the money.
You need to understand this. This is about the future of work, really.
Let's start with the brutal maths of it all, because I really think people, especially new founders, they just gloss over the true cost of a UK hire.
Oh, completely.
I said £42,000 earlier. But you and I both know, and any business owner listening knows, 42K is a lie.
It's a total fiction. It's the sticker price. It's what you put on the job ad to get people interested. But the all-in cost, the number that actually drains your bank account, is way, way higher.
Okay, so let's unpack it for everyone. You agree to pay someone £42,000. What happens next?
The government immediately puts its hand out. First, you've got employers' national insurance. That's 13.8% on top.
Right, so that's another, nearly $6,000 straight away?
Straight away. Then you have statutory pension contributions. You have to do it. Then you have to actually put them somewhere.
The overheads.
The overheads. You need a desk. In London. Good luck. That's thousands a year. You need to give them a laptop, a good one, a MacBook, software licenses for everything from Slack to Microsoft Office.
And you haven't even found this person yet, the recruitment costs.
Oh, the recruitment costs are brutal. If you use a standard recruiter, you're paying them 15, maybe 20% of that first year's salary, just as a finder's fee.
Wow. So when you add all that invisible stuff up, all the overhead, what's the real number? What is that 42K person actually costing my business?
The sources we looked at, they estimate the fully loaded all-in cost is around 56,700 pounds. Let's call it 60 grand a year.
Nearly 60 grand for a junior role. And here's the bit that really, truly stresses me out. The risk. You commit to that 60 pay, and you have absolutely zero guarantee they're going to work out or even stay.
That's what the report calls the ramp-up risk. It's a huge non-monetary cost. It takes, on average, 6 months for a new knowledge worker to become fully productive in their role.
6 months. So for half a year, you're paying a full salary for, what, 70% productivity?
At best. And then, just as they get good, just as you're about to see a return on that investment, what happens?
They leave for a 5 grand pay rise down the road.
Exactly. Attrition, right now, is the second highest concern for UK businesses, right after cash flow. It's a nightmare. You're basically running a free training camp for your competitors.
That is the perfect way to put it. Okay, so that's the nightmare scenario. Now let's flip the spreadsheet. Let's look at the South African column. We're looking at data from https.vaconnect.co.uk. VAConnect here. We said 9,600 pounds. Is that really the all-in number? Or are there hidden costs there too?
For a fully vetted, university-educated executive assistant, yes, that's pretty much the all-in client-facing price. It might range from 9,600 pounds up to maybe 11,400 pounds for someone with more senior experience.
And does that include the national insurance, the pension, the MacBook?
That's the beauty of the arbitrage. For the UK client, there is no national insurance. There is no pension obligation. No office space, they work remotely. No hardware provisioning. That 9,600 pounds is the number on the invoice, full stop.
So we're not talking about, a 15 or 20% saving here. The difference is it's a chasm.
It's a chasm. When you do the direct comparison, 56,700 pounds versus, let's be generous and say 10,000 pounds, it's a 5.9x cost differential.
5.9 times.
Yes. I mean, think about that. You could literally hire an entire support department of 5 or 6 people in Cape Town for the price of one junior operations manager in Shoreditch.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate again. Because that number, it just makes me nervous. If I see a Rolex on a market stall for 20 quid, I know it's a fake. How can the cost be that low without the quality being abysmal? Is the South African economy just collapsing?
It's not collapsing, no, but it has shifted dramatically relative to the pound sterling. It's what the economists in the reports were calling a perfect storm for UK businesses.
What's in this storm?
The big one is currency. The South African rand has depreciated by about 47% against the pound since 2015.
Wow. So our pound buys almost double what it used to a decade ago.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But, and this is the absolute crucial piece of the puzzle that explains the quality, the educational infrastructure in South Africa has not depreciated one bit.
Ah, okay.
You still have world-class, globally ranked universities. The University of Cape Town, UCT, Wits University in Johannesburg. These are serious institutions producing graduates at a first-world standard.
So the currency crashed, but the universities didn't.
Precisely. You are, in effect, buying first-world human capital at emerging market prices. And this leads to this fascinating concept from the Staffing Industry Analysts Report. They call it qualification inflation asymmetry.
That's a mouthful. Break that down for us.
Okay, think about the UK first. We have massive qualification inflation. An entry-level marketing job that used to require A-levels now demands a master's degree.
Right. But the wages for that job haven't gone up.
Not at all. They've stagnated.
Right.
So you hire a grad in London for 28K, and they're miserable. They feel massively overqualified and chronically underpaid. And they're probably job hunting on your time.
We've all seen it.
Right.
Now, what's the situation in South Africa? The asymmetry.
In South Africa, because of a combination of high local unemployment and that currency weakness, you have a huge pool of highly qualified professionals.
Right.
People with degrees from top-tier universities, I'm talking Bachelor of Commerce and Finance law degrees, who are looking for stable, well-paid work.
And what we consider well-paid in rand is very affordable in pounds.
Exactly. I was looking at one of the profiles in the source material from https.vaconnect.co.uk, VAConnect. It was a virtual assistant with a BCom in finance from Wits.
A top 200 global university.
Yes. And she was doing work for a UK startup for roughly 11,400 pounds a year. Now, if you tried to hire a recent finance grad in Manchester to be your executive assistant,
Yeah.
you'd be paying 50,000 pounds easy, and they would quit in 3 months because they were bored out of their mind.
Correct. So here's the irony. The cheaper option, the South African VA, is often the far more skilled option. You're getting a finance professional to handle your bookkeeping and calendar. In the UK, at that price, you are getting a school leaver.
It completely inverts the old outsourcing logic where you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
It's the opposite. Here, you pay peanuts in sterling terms and you get lions.
Okay, I get the math. I get the economics. It makes sense on paper. But business isn't done on paper. It's done between people.
Yeah.
And people are messy.
We have all heard the horror stories. I'm sure you have. I hired a VA in the Philippines, and I ended up spending more time managing them than actually doing my own work.
Or I asked for a market analysis and got a list of grocery stores.
Exactly. That is the friction problem. And honestly, this is the reef where most outsourcing strategies smash themselves to pieces.
It is. It's the hidden cost that kills all the savings.
So let's compare Manila and Cape Town on this front, because for 15, 20 years, the Philippines has completely dominated this market.
They have. It's an industry of 1.3 million VAs. They built a huge slice of their GDP on two things: widespread English proficiency and low wages. But the reports show that UK startups found that say 70% cost saving on paper
Yes.
often degraded down to only a 30 or 40% effective saving because of all that friction.
So define friction for us in this context. What are the components?
It really breaks down into three big categories. The first one is the most obvious: time zone asynchronicity.
Right. Manila's is what, 7 or 8 hours ahead of London?
Depending on the time of year, yeah. So if you're in London and a crisis hits your desk at 2 p.m.,
It's 10 p.m. in Manila, your VA is in bed. Or if they're working the night shift to match your hours, they're living this vampire existence.
which is just not sustainable. Their health suffers, their cognitive function drops, and the burnout rate is astronomical. Now, compare that to South Africa. It's in GMT +2.
So in UK winter, it's a 2-hour difference. In our summer, it's only 1 hour.
Exactly. You have essentially a 90% overlap in your working day. You can Slack them, you can jump on a quick call, they reply instantly. That agility in a fast-moving startup is worth a fortune.
It's huge, but you said there were 2 other fictions. The second one sounded like the real killer.
It is. This is the big one: cultural translation costs.
The British Code. I love this section of the research.
It's a very, very real problem. British business culture, as we know, is built on a foundation of understatement, nuance, and indirect communication. We don't really say what we mean.
Give us the classic, interesting example. I think every single person listening has been guilty of this one.
Okay. So a British founder is reviewing a piece of work. Maybe it's a draft marketing plan from their VA. They look at it and they say, that's interesting.
Which, translated from British English into actual English, means this is a catastrophe, burn it with fire, and start over from scratch.
Precisely. But to a literal listener, or to someone who has been trained in the very direct American-style business communication, which is very common in the Philippines, interesting means good. It means I am genuinely interested in this idea.
So the VA thinks they've done a brilliant job.
They think they've nailed it. And they carry on down that completely wrong path for another week, wasting time and money.
And the founder pays for that wasted week, in time and in cash.
One of the sources actually quantified this. They estimated that British founders spend, on average, 4.2 hours per week just explaining context, correcting these cultural misunderstandings, and clarifying nuance.
4 hours a week.
At a founder's opportunity cost, that's about £26,000 a year. It completely wipes out the savings.
It totally defeats the purpose of hiring someone to save you time. But the argument is that this isn't an issue with South Africa. Why not?
It's a Commonwealth country. The business framework, the legal system, the accounting principles, even the spelling organization with an it's all derived from the same British root. They get the dry humor. They understand the British code intuitively.
As one founder in the report put it, it's like I don't have to translate my own language.
That's it. That is a massive, massive hidden efficiency.
Okay, so that's 2 frictions. Time zone, culture. What was the third?
The third is a bit more subtle, but it's called credential recognition. It's a cognitive bias, but it's very real, especially when dealing with investors or partners.
What do you mean?
If you're a founder and you tell your London-based investors, my new executive assistant has a degree from the University of Cape Town, they nod. They've heard of UCT. It carries weight. It feels, UK adjacent.
It feels solid. Whereas if you say they have a degree from a university they've never heard of in, say, rural Luzon.
It just doesn't provide that same level of comfort or subconscious trust. It's a small thing, but it adds up. So when you remove the time zone lag, the cultural confusion, and the credential doubt.
You get what the agency, https://vaconnect.co.uk, VConnect, calls the no friction argument.
Exactly. The effective arbitrage, the real saving, stays incredibly high because you aren't paying that hidden friction tax.
Okay, the theory is sound, the economics hold up. But let's talk about the practicalities. Execution. Because I can't just, fly to Cape Town and stand on a street corner shouting, who's good with spreadsheets and wants a job?
You could, but it probably wouldn't be the most efficient recruitment strategy.
Right, and this is where the agency model comes in. But the sources were clear, you have to be careful. There are what they call job boards, and then there is infrastructure.
A huge difference. The reports really focused on the infrastructure approach, specifically the one used by https://vaconnect.co.uk, VConnect. They talk about it as building a competitive moat.
Unpack that phrase. What are they doing that a simple job board isn't?
It's all about something they call pre-integration arbitrage. Basically, they absorb all the pain, all the filtering, all the risk before a client ever even sees a candidate's CV.
So they're a filter. How does that filter work?
It's an incredibly strict funnel. They start by only considering applicants with university degrees. That single move eliminates 73% of the local market right off the bat.
Wow, okay. And then?
Then come the tests. And these aren't just, can you type 60 words a minute tests. They're testing for hard skills, so tech proficiency in things like Xero, HubSpot, Slack. But then, crucially, they test for cultural fluency.
Like the interesting test.
Exactly like the interesting test. They give applicants ambiguous British business scenarios and see if they can correctly interpret the subtext. Can they read between the lines?
That's fascinating.
The end result of this funnel is that their final acceptance rate, the number of people who apply versus who get offered a role, is only 7%.
7%. That's tougher than getting into Oxbridge.
It is. Compare that to the 40 or 50% acceptance rate you might see on a typical high-volume platform. But the feature that really stood out to me in their model, the one that directly addresses the fear you mentioned earlier, the who is managing this person fear,
Yes.
is the UK Success Manager.
Okay, what's that? Because I don't want to become an HR manager. I'm a founder. I need to build my product.
Right. So the VA works for you, the client, day to day.
Yeah.
But https://vaconnect.co.uk, VAConnect assigns a UK-based liaison, a success manager, to oversee the entire relationship from their side. They handle performance, development, any issues.
So you have a point of contact in your own time zone.
A professional manager. There was a fantastic anecdote in the files about the spelling story with the legal tech startup.
Oh, I remember this one. This perfectly illustrates the point about quality, I think.
It really does. So a London-based legal tech firm hires a VA through the platform. In her second month, the VA is tasked with organizing their document repository, a pretty standard admin task.
Okay.
As she's going through it, she notices that the company's contract templates are a mess. Some use British spelling organization with an S, and others use American spelling with a Z.
Which, for a legal firm, that looks incredibly sloppy. It undermines their credibility.
It looks amateurish. Now, a standard offshore VA might not even notice. Or if they did, they might assume the client knows best and just stay quiet. A 40K UK hire should notice it and flag it.
But what did this VA do?
She noticed it, understood the implication for the brand, and then proactively went through and standardized the spelling across the entire database without being asked.
Why? Why would you care that much? That's not in the job description.
It's because of the training. The agency has these internal ecosystems. There's VARsity, which is their continuous upskilling platform, and something they call Atomic Energy, which is their wellness and engagement program. They train for what they call brand fastidiousness.
Brand fastidiousness. I love that phrase. It's the difference between a task doer and a true partner, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And the stats back it up. They have a 98% talent retention rate over a 14-month period. In the VA world, where churn is typically through the roof, that stability is unheard of. It's a hidden asset.
I want to pivot here slightly because there's a huge elephant in the room in any conversation about work in 2026.
I think I know where you're going. AI.
AI, exactly. Everyone is saying, fire the humans, just get a ChatGPT subscription. Why are we even talking about hiring people for these roles anymore?
It is a totally valid question. And there was a big trend in 2024 where startups over-indexed heavily on automation. Let's use Zapier and AI for everything. But what did they find?
They found that AI is brilliant at drafting a generic email, but absolutely terrible at reading the room.
Exactly. AI has a high IQ in a technical sense, but it has zero EQ, zero emotional intelligence. It can't tell from the slightly shorter sentences in an email that a client is annoyed. It can't manage up. It can't sense when a founder is stressed and just needs a problem to quietly disappear.
There was that killer quote from an investor in the source material. He said, "I can't send an AI to my investor with a nuanced update about why we missed our Q3 milestone."
That's human work. And this is the core economic argument for the round hay formula now. As AI handles the generic, the repetitive stuff, differentiation in business is moving to the relational layer.
So if everyone is using AI to write the same bland emails, the company whose human sends a thoughtful, culturally aware email is the one that stands out.
Precisely. But humans are expensive.
UK humans are expensive.
Yeah, there you go. South African humans, through this model, are not. That's the concept of getting EQ at IQ prices. The VAs from an agency like https://VAConnect.co.uk VConnect sit perfectly in that gap between AI efficiency and human judgment.
You get the grace note, the ability to negotiate a tricky calendar conflict with diplomacy, or to smooth over a client's frustration.
And you pay a price that's comparable to a high-end software subscription. There was a specific calculation about this in the files. A founder who tried to automate his whole admin function.
Yes, tell us about that.
He set up all these AI bots, zaps, automations, and yes, he saved money on a salary. But he found he was spending 11 extra hours of his own time every single week fixing the AI's mistakes, smoothing over ruffled feathers when the AI sent something tone-deaf to a key client.
And his time as a founder is worth what, £140 an hour?
At least. It's the most expensive resource in the company. So when he finally caved and hired a VA, not only did he get those 11 hours back, but she took another 6 hours of work off his plate. That's a 17-hour swing.
The ROI on that must be huge.
It works out to an 11x return on investment. It's the classic opportunity cost argument. What could you, the leader, be doing with those 17 hours a week instead of fixing AI errors and managing calendars?
Building the business, talking to customers, that's where the value is.
Exactly.
Let's make this even more real. I want to talk about James Sterling and FinTech Round, because this case study from the report just brings every single one of these threads together.
A classic startup scenario. James is a founder based in Leeds. He raised a good seed round in 2024. He's got product market fit, things are going well, and he has about 18 months of runway in the bank.
And then the classic crunch hits. Good problem to have, but still a problem.
He needs to expand. The product is working, but the operations are starting to break into the strain. He needs customer support. He needs someone managing the CRM. He needs more content marketing.
So he does the math. If he hires for those roles in the UK, even in Leeds, which is cheaper than London,
he's looking at about £165,000 in new annual salaries and associated costs.
which would just torch his runway. He'd be out of cash in less than a year. That's a death sentence for a startup.
He'd be dead in the water before he get a chance to prove his next set of metrics. So he pivots. He uses the round hay formula. He goes to https://VAConnect.co.uk, VConnect, and decides to build a remote team.
And he doesn't just hire one person.
No, he hires a team, a senior EA to manage him, a marketing VA, a customer success VA, and a financial admin. A 4-person department.
4 people. What was the total bill for the team?
The total annual cost for that entire 4-person team was £79,600.
So less than half the price of hiring just 3 people in the UK?
Less than half. He saved £85,400 a year in cash burn, and the crucial part is what that did to his runway. It extended it by nearly 5 months.
4.8 months. That is a lifetime in the startup world. That is the difference between having the time to close your Series A and going bust.
But it wasn't just about saving money. The quality gains were what shocked him. For instance, his average customer email response time dropped from 18 hours to just 4.2 hours. His content output on their blog went from 2 posts a month to 12. But my favorite detail, the one that just makes the case perfectly, is what the financial admin did.
The sauce win. I loved this part.
Yes, so the financial VA, who, remember, probably has a finance degree, audited all of their software subscriptions. Yeah. She found £6,200 in duplicate SaaS fees, unused seats on platforms, forgotten free trials that had converted to paid plans.
So she just found money.
She found money. She negotiated savings with vendors. In her first 3 months, she literally paid for her own annual salary 1.6 times over, just by eliminating waste.
That is the absolute dream scenario, and the investors noticed all this.
They did. When FinTech Round went to raise their Series A, VCs looked at their financials. They saw a fully staffed, high-output team, but a surprisingly low monthly burn rate. They called it a clean burn. It was a huge signal of operational discipline and capital efficiency.
And it helped him close the round.
It was a key factor in closing a $2.4 million round. It showed he was a founder who knew how to make every pound work hard.
It's not just surviving. It's about looking incredibly attractive to the next stage of investors.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, I am completely sold on the concept, but execution, as always, is everything. And I feel like there's a real risk here for the learner who's listening to this. They might be thinking, great, I'll go hire a VA tomorrow and all my problems will be solved.
And it's not that simple. You can absolutely screw this up if you don't approach it correctly.
The sources outlined a very specific protocol for this, didn't they? The immediate action protocol.
Yes, a 4-phase plan.
Let's walk through it. What's step one for someone listening who wants to do this?
Phase 1 is ruthless role definition. The single biggest mistake people make is hiring a generalist and just hoping for the best. Don't just say, I need help with everything.
The old just save me from my inbox plea. Laughs. Exactly. That always fails. You need to define the domain. Are you hiring for repetitive coordination, like calendar and email? Is it for research? Is it for customer ops? Pick a specific lane to start with. If you try to hire a Swiss Army knife, you usually end up with a very blunt spoon.
I like that. Okay, so phase 2 is engagement. How do we interview someone for this? A CV isn't going to tell me if they can handle my chaotic schedule.
Don't do a standard Q&A. Asking what are your greatest weaknesses is a complete waste of time. You need to do a simulation, a practical test.
Give me a concrete example of a good simulation.
Okay, take your actual messy calendar from last week, anonymize it, send it to the candidate and say, here are 8 conflicting meeting requests for next Tuesday. 3 are with VIP clients. 1 is an internal team stand-up. 1 is a potential investor. Fix the schedule and, crucially, send me an email explaining the logic behind your choices.
Oh, that's brilliant, because there isn't one single right answer, but there is a right way to think about the problem. Exactly. Do they try to cancel the investor meeting? Bad move. Do they suggest shortening the internal meeting to 15 minutes? Good move. You are testing their judgment and communication skills, not just their ability to use Google Calendar.
And when you engage with an agency like https://vaconnect.co.uk, VAConnect, they help you design these simulations.
Yes, it's part of their process.
Yeah.
Okay, so phase 3, technical integration.
Right. Handing over the keys to the kingdom? Scary.
Use progressive access. Start with read-only permissions. But here's something people get wrong. Don't assume you need to teach them the tech. South African VAs are often more tech-fluent than UK staff because they live and breathe in a remote-first environment. They probably know Slack, Zoom, and Asana better than you do.
So focus on security protocols, not basic training.
Precisely. And that brings us to phase 4, which the report says is the most important one of all.
What is it?
Cultural onboarding. You have to perform a company culture download. Spend 90 minutes on a call explaining why you write emails the way you do. What is your brand voice? What's your internal communication style?
It goes right back to that interesting example. You have to explicitly teach them your company's code.
Yes. You must treat them as a partner, not as invisible infrastructure. If you treat them like a vending machine, put a coin in, get a task out, you lose 90% of the potential value. If you treat them like a core team member, invite them to the virtual all-hands. Ask for their opinion. That's how you get that 11x ROI we talked about.
And what about the big pitfalls to avoid? I can see myself falling into the micromanagement trap, especially when they're 6,000 miles away.
Trust but verify. Set clear goals and check in, but don't watch their every keystroke. And the other big one is scope creep without reward. If they get really, really good, don't just keep piling on more work. Give them a raise.
Which is still a bargain.
It's an incredible bargain. A 20% raise on 9,600 pounds is less than $2,000 to you, but it buys absolute ironclad loyalty from them. In the South African economy, that kind of raise is life-changing.
That's a really smart way to think about it. Okay, let's zoom out for the final section. We've been deep in the weeds of spreadsheets and hiring protocols. What does this all mean for the future, 2026 and beyond?
I think we're at a point where several massive trends are converging to make this not just a smart idea, but an inevitability. Force 1 is what the reports call the wage productivity divergence.
The scary Bank of England data.
It is scary. Unit labor costs in the UK rose by 7.2%, while our actual economic output only rose by 1.1%.
So we're paying much, much more to get just a tiny bit more done. That is the definition of a broken model.
It's an economic headwind. Essentially, hiring a UK employee is becoming a penalty on your company's balance sheet. At the same time, South Africa has maintained wage discipline while the quality of the talent pool improves. The gap between the two is widening every year.
Okay, that's force 1. What's force 2?
Force 2 is simply remote normalization. Post-pandemic, the infrastructure is just there now. The tools, the legal frameworks, the payment rails like Wise and Payoneer, it's no longer considered risky or weird to hire someone offshore. It's just business.
The stigma is gone. And force three.
Force three is investor expectations, and this is the one that will drive the most change. In 2026, investors are looking for a new metric, founder-to-revenue leverage. The new efficient frontier for a startup is a small, lean, core team in the UK focusing on strategy and product.
Supported by a larger, highly efficient offshore team that executes the operations.
Exactly. The quote in the source material on this was brutal but true. It said, in 2026, the question is no longer, should we hire offshore?
But why are we still paying UK wages for work that South Africans can be better for less?
That is the question that every CFO and every founder is going to have to answer to their board.
So let's wrap this up. We've really unpacked this round table formula, and the key takeaway for me is that it's not about being cheap.
No, not at all. It's about being smart. It's about leveraging that no-friction advantage that South Africa has, the time zone, the culture, the education.
And it's about using infrastructure, like an agency like https://VAConnect.co.uk or the VAConnect, to de-risk the entire process. You're not just gambling on a freelancer from a job board. You're building a managed, integrated team.
That's the key. It's about building scalable systems, not just hiring individuals.
So here is the final provocative thought for you, the listener. We often talk about burn rate in terms of money, but what about your personal energy burn rate?
That's the real constraint for any leader or manager, isn't it? Your time and your focus.
If it's true that talent is now globally distributed, but opportunity has, until recently, been locally concentrated, well, we are finally seeing that dam break. So look at your own workflow. Look at the tasks that drain your energy every day. Are you paying a location premium on tasks that simply don't require it?
Are you paying London prices and dealing with London-level stress for operational work that could be done better, faster, and more affordably in Cape Town?
Maybe the smartest, most strategic hire you make this year isn't the person you interview across the desk from you. Maybe it's the one sitting 6,000 miles away in almost the exact same time zone.
It's certainly worth thinking about.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
See you next time.